Now we're good to go. Okay, so who are you first?
My name is Linda Sue Dixon. I was born Linda Sue Reeves.
And who are you to me?
I am your grandmother.
And how old are you?
I am 69, about to be 70 on December 18th.
And where did you grow up?
I was born in Merced, California, only because my mother and father were visiting relatives and my mother went into labor. But I was raised on a cotton ranch in Cantua Creek, California, where my dad and other dads worked on a ranch. And there were about 40 little houses, all the same, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and they all looked the same. Our dads worked on the ranch, so everybody, there was no rich or no poor. We were all the same. And so we had lots of friends to play with. It was really nice.
And where do you live now?
I live in San Luis Obispo, California.
When I say the word leisure, what comes to mind?
Just relaxing, watching movies, taking a drive, going to the beach and walking on the beach on a nice day.
When you were growing up in the Central Valley, what did you do for leisure activities?
Well, because all the kids on the ranch, we would fly kites. In that season, we would play softball. We would play basketball. And there was skeet shooting for the bosses on the ranch. And when the clay pigeons, they released them, we would all run out in the field, and if we found a whole one, we got to keep it. But usually they broke. They were all in broken pieces. But that was one thing that was really fun.
And then when you moved to Oregon, what did you do for leisure then?
Well, we living on a cotton ranch. We never even get to see the ocean. But we were only 7 miles from the ocean. We moved to Coos Bay, Oregon, and at that time it was a logging community. Our fathers worked in the woods, cutting trees down and in the lumber industry. And so we got to go up in the mountains on the weekends or go to the beach. We had so much fun.
When you experience leisure now, who is around you?
Well, I have, including you're one of my second oldest granddaughter. I have other little granddaughters that live here, and they come over and we make beaded necklaces. I make them hair bows. I sew for them just like I did you. You were my hope that was going to want to learn how to sew. You thought you wanted to until you got into it. And as soon as you had to rip out a seam or two that wasn't straight, you said, Nana, this is not any fun.
Oh, gosh. And so what do you and Bobo do for your guys' leisure activities?
We go to movies. We love to go to the movies. We take drives along the coast. We take drives just to get out of the house and go find a little cafe or something that we've never had lunch in. Oh, we just like to do that.
And then when you had first met, what was your favorite leisure activities to do back then?
Well, the way we met is I went to a singles group with a couple of girlfriends, and it was a volleyball game at the park in Fresno. And Bob, who I met later, was on the other side hitting me the ball, and I didn't see him for a while. Then we went to a bowling tournament for the guys and the girls. They put the girls' names in a hat and the guys' names in a hat. For the fourth and final game, they chose me to have a partner as Bob. And after the game, bowling was over, he said, "Do you like to fly?" And I said, "Well, I haven't done very much of it. Have you ever flown in a small plane?" And I said, "No." "Would you like to fly to Pismo tomorrow for brunch?" And I go, I guess so. But we got over there, and he flew us over there, and then we walked on the beach for 6 hours just getting to know one another, and we've been together ever since.
So now what would you say your favorite leisure activity to do together is now?
Well, we like to travel. We're going to be doing more of it. We're retired now, and we like to go to different places, and we like to go to musicals. And that's one thing I introduced you to when you were a little girl, 11 or so.
Yeah.
And you used to watch all these musicals with me. And My Fair Lady, oh gosh.
Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
That Christmas one.
Yes.
White Christmas. Is that what
White
it is?
Christmas. White Christmas. So you really learn to love to watch musicals, and I think you still probably do.
I do, actually, a lot. What would be your favorite thing that you and Bob have, or a place that you and Bob have ever went together for your leisure?
Let me see, my favorite place we've gone together. We took a drive up to the Oregon coast, and we got to see that the one town before, just as you get out of California, is Brookings. And it's a really nice community. It's on the river and on the ocean. And we got to go there and spend the day. And we stayed a couple of nights in Oregon. And that was really nice to do. I got to show him where I used to live, the home I lived in, and my high school, which was Marshfield Senior High. And it's on a hill, and it looks like a big prison. It's so huge.
Really?
There were 3,000 kids in that high school. That's what I went to. Moving from Cantua Creek, where there's only about 100 graduates at Tranquility High School.
Yeah, that's a big difference. Do you feel that everybody has the right to leisure, and if not, why?
Yes, everybody has a right to have some leisure time. I think the only thing I would say as an exception to that would be a violent person that went to prison for hurting someone else. They don't need to have leisure time. They need to be in there to readjust their thinking.
I agree. How have your leisure pursuits changed over your lifetime?
Well, I used to love sports and activities, swimming. I still like to swim, but I used to do so many things in sports. Even though I was a short little thing, I was a very good athlete. And so I was on the volleyball team in high school, and the basketball team and swim team. So I just love all kinds of physical activity.
Do you think you passed on that to your children?
Well, I think all of my children love to swim, and most of them are like into doing some kind of activity. But it's different. I was in a different era. When we moved to Oregon, they had an Olympic size swimming pool in the local town that we lived in, and every Thursday night your whole family could go swimming in this beautiful indoor pool, even when it was storming outside, for $1 for the whole family. So that was really fun. And my parents, my mom and dad were huge swimmers, and my mother would actually do flips off the diving board, and everybody said, "Your mother can do that."
That's
So
awesome.
It was cool.
What would you say is your favorite leisure activity to do with your little granddaughters?
Well, they love to make necklaces with. I have all these pretty beads, pearls, and different beads. And in fact, yesterday they were here, and all three of them made a necklace. And they love my hair bows that I make for them, and I let them be a part of as much as I can.
And what do you do for the unfortunate children?
Oh, I have been for 3 years now. I'm a seamstress. I learned to sew when I was in the 8th grade, and I have been sewing ever since. And I make stuffed animals for underprivileged children, in addition to my grandchildren. But I make all kinds of little stuffed animals, and my favorite thing is a snake. I make this 6-foot-long snake that's about 4 inches around, and in the tail I put some little pellets that make it sound like they can touch it and make it sound like a rattlesnake. And they got a little tongue sticking out their mouth. They sleep with them in the winter. They love them so much.
That's awesome. What would be one thing you look forward to doing in the future regarding leisure?
Well, Bob and I want to take an Alaskan cruise. We've gone on a cruise to the Bahamas, and that was fun. But we want to go on a cruise to Alaska and be able to go and look at all that beautiful country.
That's awesome. All right, Nana, I think that's it, unless you can think of anything regarding leisure.
Let me see. Well, when you get as old as we are, 69 and 72, leisure is just being together and, going somewhere, maybe for a drive and just relaxing or reading an article to each other, watching movies together. And we love to go traveling to Fresno to see you and your mom and listening to our country music and the 50s old rock and roll music. We have Sirius Radio, and so we love to do that and drive because it takes us 3 hours to get there and 3 hours to get home.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's really cool how there was so much to do in Oregon back in the day. How to pay $1 to go swimming, to pay $1 to go ice skating. I think that's something that we could use here.
Yeah, it makes it because a lot of families can't afford if they've got 4 or 5 kids, like we have 5 kids, they can't afford to go to a swimming pool and pay $2 or $2.50 a person. Yeah. And so that's one thing that Oregon did is try to make things available to all families.
I like that. We should do that more often here, or even have like how you said, there was one night a week where that was a thing.
Yes.
Maybe not every day, but at least one night a week, so lower income people.
And they also had that for the drive-in movies. Of course, they don't have many drive-in movies now, but you could get in for $1 carload. As many people as you could stuff in that car, they could go for $1.
That's crazy to me. Oh my gosh.